25% of guests overall and 70% of the political guests on Lex Fridman's podcast are ethnically Jewish.
As someone who enjoys philosophy, I like the channel Leather Apron Club. But as someone who dislikes anti-Semitism, I hate it, especially when said anti-Semitism is presented in the guise of just neutrally pointing out interesting patterns. What I'm talking about is the channel's recent series in which the host lists all of the Jewish guests on some of the most influential podcasts like Joe Rogan's or Lex Fridman's. It's no doubt an interesting fact that although Jews make up only about 2% of the American population, they make up such a disproportionately large number of guests. I wouldn't even consider it far right to worry about one particular ethnic group being given such a loud voice. In fact, this is what liberal social justice warriors are always hammering on about with regard to white men in positions of power and the underrepresentation of Black and Indigenous people. There is, however, a clear line between these sorts of contemplations and anti-Semitism, and Leather Apron Club has clearly crossed over that line.
There's a guy named, what is it? Oh, he's figured out Leather Apron Club. Like, he tracks, like, how many Jewish people does Joe Rogan have on his program?
I quite literally observed a phenomenon, formed a hypothesis, and then gathered data to test that hypothesis. But we're not allowed to discuss the results because people like Weinstein say so.
The reason why Jews are overrepresented in these podcasts is because they often draw from a pool of guests in which Jews are already overrepresented, namely academia.
Certain groups are super abundantly overrepresented in our supposedly meritocratic system.
So what is he really saying by supposedly meritocratic system? In his view, the guests that happen to be Jewish are not there based on merit. So what exactly is the mechanism whereby they get to be on these shows? This he leaves for the viewer's imagination to fill in the blank, presumably in the form of perennial conspiracy theories. In reality, the answer as to why Jews are overrepresented in academia and in these podcasts that often have academic subjects is simple. Jews have an average IQ that is about 15 points higher than that of the average American. This has been proven by study after study. Now, some may deny the validity of IQ testing, which he doesn't. Instead, he claims that the fact that Jews have a higher IQ is just a lie that is made up. He backs this claim up by citing the few studies that seem to discredit this claim.
Is it possible that these studies were all just faked? We've already examined how a healthy proportion of the most commonly cited works on the matter use non-representative groups to make their arguments.
Again, he only points this out. But what other conclusion are we to come to except for it's not about intelligence, it's not about merit, there's some other more sinister reason that we don't understand, some conspiracy that we need to get to the bottom of. Leather Apron Club, of course, doesn't see it that way and instead claims that he's being called anti-Semitic only to delegitimize the important observations he's trying to make. Leather Apron Club, at least be honest about what you're doing and stop complaining when you're rightly being called out for peddling anti-Semitism.